Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting for February 7th, 2022. We would like to acknowledge the traditional territories and the oral practices of the Blackfoot Nation, which includes the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. We're making this acknowledgement to demonstrate our continuing efforts to work together as we strive for reconciliation through increased and collective learning. Okay, to start off our meeting this afternoon, we have staff acknowledgement, and I'll hand it over to Shelley. Shelley, it's yours here.
Thank you very much. So Deanna Hickey is our accounting supervisor in the finance department, and she has been working diligently on her education for several years while working with the city. I'd like to recognize that Deanna recently completed her business administration diploma from SAIT, and this is a great accomplishment. Deanna's been with the finance department since July of 2010 and in her current position since April of 2012, and I'm super proud and excited about this milestone for Deanna and like to wish her congratulations.
Congratulations and thank you very much, and thanks for working for the City of Brooks. Yeah. Do we do anything? No, is that it? Okay, that's it. Well, thanks. Yeah. Okay, I'd like to call up upon Barry Yokoyama. We have some firefighters he'd like to introduce. Now, he might need your mic over there, Joel. Yeah.
Thank you. Gives me great honor, and I'm very proud to introduce to your worship and councilors our newest firefighters with the City of Brooks Volunteer Fire Department. I'll introduce to you, I have 5 out of the 7. 2 couldn't make it so far. So the first one we have is Vincent Orbay. And then we also have Phil McDonald, Colton Saddam, and Matt Swanson, and Brittany Tanigami. So I'd like you to welcome our newest firefighters. Yeah, right in the front is good.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much there. And again, they left pretty quick there, but I wanted to thank them and thank you. You can send the messages. No, that's fine, Barry, whatever. But we certainly appreciate the efforts they put into our community to keep it safe at all times, whether it be a fire or an accident or a snowstorm or a windstorm or whatever. So just pass that along there. We appreciate what they do for the community there. So. Okay, moved by Councillor Idris that the agenda be adopted. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Okay, moved by Councillor Goodenough that the minutes of the regular council meeting held January 17th, 2022 be approved. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Nesbitt that the following items of correspondence be received as information. First of all, updates on council conferences and workshops and council committee reports, and the accountable payable listing and notes from the council committee on January 25th, 2022, and an update from Eco Brooks committee. And we'll start off with, first of all, council conferences and workshops, and we'll start at Now, this isn't the committee reports, this is any council workshops or committee report. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Councillor Idris.
Thank you. I actually attended the economic development for elected officials recently, and it was actually a very, we were just talking about it and we were thinking we could have done even 2 days rather than 1 day. Lots of information, lots of opportunities for growth, and excited to see what could we do with that.
Councillor Nesbitt.
Nothing to report, Your Honor.
Okay. Councillor Prentice.
Nothing on that.
Councillor Goodenough.
Yeah, just a few things to report on. This would be the time I'll give my RCMP report. Is that correct? That you would like?
No, let's talk about that a little bit later on in the agenda when Alan talks about that. You can kind of add to what Alan has to say on that then.
I get the final word from Alan?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
Well, the
Okay.
second last word.
All right, then I will hold my comments till after. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Councillor Wartrup? Nothing there? Okay. Councillor Jessica?
Yeah, I also attended the workshop on economic development for councillors. Yeah, so I also attended the workshop for economic development for councillors, and like Mohammed said, and I guess she had indicated that it originally had been a 2-day program, and for whatever reason, they did reduce it to 1 day. And it did have a wealth of information, and I think it was well worth the time, and if it were to be presented again, I would suggest that they do go with the 2 days on it.
Okay. Okay, now for the council committee reports, and we'll start with Councillor Idris there with your committee reports.
Thank you. This is our first committee reports, and
Yeah.
and I was hoping someone else that has done it before to present before me, but I will try. As many of you know, I sit on a number of different committees, and they are the Brooks Region Tourism, Business Revitalization, the BRZ, Safe Communities Committee, and the Joint Shared Services Committee. And I'm going to touch on some of the major items that each committee is working on, and I'm going to start with the Brooks Region Tourism. Lots going on around how can we market our community and make our community more appealing to visitors, to even residents in between. So there is actually a Calgary outdoor show that's going to happen soon, and the team is working on trying to prepare materials and update some of the materials that we have to be able to develop there. There is also there is an idea of using social media to do that. Where there is a website called Road Trip Alberta. So working with that to come and look at our community and see if it could be featured somehow on the Road Trip Alberta, and also using social media to do some sort of contest to highlight some of our tourism operators in the community, where maybe monthly tourism businesses will present some sort of a package or something so that people can follow and someone can win these contests and use that. There is a survey that's going to go on, and I think it's actually on. It's around sport tourism. We have seen that there is an increase in that, and especially, for example, when there is some sort of a hockey tournament and a number of teams are coming, staying in hotels, eating in restaurants, and how can we leverage that, and how can we build on that, something that's already there. There's a lot of meetings and conferences and different initiatives that the team, mainly the chair of the committee is working on. Also, many of you know the Canadian Badlands are no more, and there is some talk around how can we do something with that again and bring it back. There is a meeting that the team is attending around the film industry, and how can we present some sort of a product that people who are trying to do films whether it's from Hollywood or somewhere else, come in and use our backyards and do some of these things. And finally, actually, it's something I wanted to bring up we heard recently that the chair of the committee, Colin has resigned, and we are, I believe, looking for a new chair, if I am not mistaken. And then for the BRZ, we have our AGM coming up this month, in a couple of weeks, actually. In December, in the last couple of weeks, couple of months, actually, there was a lot of activities around marketing the businesses in downtown through the radio, through social media. And if you remember, annually there is the parade and all of that. This year it didn't happen. So many of the resources that used to go to that actually was used to buy ads and buy radio spots for everyone in the business downtown in the downtown area. And that actually garnered a lot of support from the business community, and actually a lot of people who used it said that, you know, they have seen some return on investment. And I don't know if many people know, but there is actually a character downtown moving around and visiting different businesses on Facebook, Marty McNam, and I will recommend people following that. Safe communities. We had 2 new appointments since I came on board. We had a bylaw change. We have approved the budget, and there is a big focus from the Safe Communities Committee, and especially the Safe Communities Coordinator, for community educations. And there is a lot of work that has been done, whether it's car seats clinics, whether it is sessions on women's rights and things like that. A video was done for the high school kids around consent and what does it mean, and things around that as well. There was a 12 Days of Christmas campaign in December, where rather than tickets for people who are maybe breaking the law a little bit, not crossing like a red light or something like that, instead of a ticket, they will get a gift card and be told about what they have done and some consequences of that. There is a lot going on social media. There is a huge presence in social media for safe communities. One of their videos actually have reached 6.7 million views from all over the world. And they're getting some questions and some connection from different places. They're actually being recognized provincially and even further. The Safe Communities Coordinator is actually speaking in a conference in Whistler, in BC, in May. And they have been receiving a lot of questions from other police jurisdictions in the RCMP on how are they doing it, actually even as far as Chicago. The police department from there have connected with them to ask how are they doing it, the concept of community policing and the work that has been done with the community. Joint shared services, actually I'm not the only person on the committee. We have had a couple meetings, and there is a new chair, a new vice chair. His worship is our new chair, and someone from the county is actually the vice chair. There is an idea of, not an idea, we are going into strategic planning soon and to develop what are the priorities for joint shared services in the coming little while. And one of the questions that came up is engaging with the EID and maybe bringing the EID on as a member of the joint shared services, and what does that look like, and what could the benefits of that be. There's a lot of work going on again around economic development and the pathway to the lake. Many of you have seen maybe the brochures and the campaign that started to fundraise for that, and hopefully there will be some work starting soon, because there's some funds that are already there. And finally, the committee that is maybe the busiest. We haven't had any meeting for the IMDP. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Prentice.
Yes, I got the one item here of our new regional landfill. And our new landfill managers started on January the 2nd, after Councillor Jessica's retiring from the landfill. Sean McKay accepted the manager's position and will be working as an employee with his office at the landfill. Sean comes to us from Drumheller, where he was executive director. He has 8.5 years' experience with landfill management. So I think it's going to be a good fit. I'd like to thank Ray, has been working with Sean the last month, and helping him out, get him started. And I'd like to thank Ray for all the years he's managed the landfill and substations. He has made the operation a success for our community. So it's thanks, Ray, for all the hours and hard work. Much appreciated. And I think that's about it. The rest of my committees are pretty well Zoom meetings with the COVID. It's pretty well normal.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate, I want to go back to even Councilor Idris there with Colin Welchwood. I worked with him on NRTA, and he contributed many years to that organization. So it's always nice with succession planning and people moving on, but we want to thank him for his years of service on that one there too. And I'll reiterate your thoughts with Councilor Jessica too, and his years of service on the landfill there too. Okay, Councilor Goodenough.
Great, thank you. A few things I'd like to just highlight is from the Brooks and District Chamber of Commerce, our trade show that has been annual and has been put on hold for several years now due to COVID restrictions and guidelines. We are looking to resume that in the spring, but we came in with a conflict of dates with Medicine Hat. So we don't want to, obviously do a trade show both on the same weekend because we do draw in similar booths and activities. So we're going to look at a different date as possible. Also, I am excited that if you haven't had a chance to get emails from the District Chamber of Commerce, just the wealth of information and the free resources that are out there for local businesses that are looking to work on their online platform and strategies. Also, they're taking an initiative in the veterinarian recruitment program, and we're just, it's just good to see that a lot of our community programs are working to build our community stronger. Also wanted to mention, just reiterate what Councillor Idris mentioned with joint services. It's great to see our surrounding area working together to better our community, and whether that's with economic development, doctor retention, veterinary, whatever it is, and also talking about the pathway. And it's exciting to see that we are raising now, fundraising has started for the pathway, and people are contributing, and there is some excitement about building this pathway out to Kimbrook Island. And we just encourage everyone that is listening online or around that we are accepting donations, and that's happening. So that's a good progress. Other than that, my MPC meetings, they're all on Zoom, and it's good to see that things are happening. So other than that, that's all I'm going to report.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to add something on joint services too, and either Joel or Councillor Idris can talk about it. Something that I found kind of fascinating was them talking about having the Brooks campus as a medical training facility. And I think if there was a way that we could maybe get the provincial government and Medicine Hat College, the idea is maybe if you're going into either being a paramedic or a dentist or chiropractor or a doctor, you might be able to take your first 2 years here. And we often talk about what we're going to do with the college here, but I think if we got everybody on board and that became a training facility, just for, I know you can't do the whole section here, but even to start here, and then we become a destination there too. And that's talked about, and we don't know where it goes, but at least it's out there now. And if we get the right people involved in that, maybe it can come to fruition down the road on that. So I just wanted to add to that there. So any questions on any of those? Okay, to the motion then. It was moved by Councillor Nesbitt that the following items of correspondence be received as information: the updates on the council conferences and workshops, the council committee reports, accounts payable listing, council committee, and Eco-Brooks committee. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Moved by Councillor Jessica that the council accept the Fire Department Year-End Report 2021 report as information. We have Barry Yokiyama here. I have a public hearing at 5 o'clock. Not to rush you there, but if you need more time, we just might have to preempt you for a little bit here. So if you want to go ahead with your report there.
I'm really quick. Good afternoon again. Through the chair to your worship and council. I'm pleased to present the 2021 Fire Services Year-End Report. I'm sure you all have a copy of it also. So summarizing as follows: emergency responses, 45% increase. That's 334 in 2020, and it was up to 485 calls in 2021. Training hours were decreased by 11%, which was 4,304 down, or from in 2020 down to 3,850 in 2021. And we had 3 courses held above and beyond regular monthly training sessions. NFPA 1051 wildland firefighting, the livestock emergency, and on-scene traffic control courses. And there were some courses canceled due to the COVID-19, of course. NFPA 1001 Level 2, which is flammable liquids and gases, and the NFPA 1042, the hazmat course, were canceled. Fire safety inspections were increased by 27% of 218 in 2020 up to 277 in 2021. Fire code infractions were increased 238%, 16 in 2020 up to 54 in 2021. Fire safety activities decreased from 33%, and it went down from 60 in 2020 to 40 in 2021. And we had 4 volunteer firefighters retire. And of course, hiring did not take place due to the pandemic. And we had an arrival of 1 new fleet vehicle, which is a pickup truck for the command unit. The old command unit replaced the 2006 support unit, which went to Public Works. Regional firefighting training facility was rented out for 14 days to 4 different agencies outside of Brooks region, the MD of Tabor, County of 40 Mile, Methanex Emergency Response Team, and Cypress County Emergency Services. And we also took live fire props out to JBS Food Canada Incorporated to train the emergency response team. And please note that rentals doubled compared to 2020, as the facility was rented out 7 days during that year. Now, the volunteer retention program all started in 2012 as an incentive for volunteer firefighters to stay on longer than 1 or 2 years with the department, as we had gone through a healthy number of firefighters per year. So with the retention program, volunteers are to receive $1,000 worth of firefighting equipment every 3 years of service as a volunteer. The numbers of firefighters have been stable, and especially since the start of COVID, so the retention program has been successful. The volunteers do appreciate this, as they say this shows strong support by both the City of Brooks and council members alike. So on behalf of the firefighters, they would like to thank you for everything that the City of Brooks has done for them. And this year we have some recognitions to be awarded. We have 35 years of service going to the Fire Chief Kevin Swanson, 30 years of service to volunteer firefighter Jim Benora. We have 25 years of service going to the Deputy Fire Chief Barry Okoyama, 10 years of service to the volunteer firefighter Dustin Bartlett, and 5 years of service going to volunteer firefighter Ryan Laguerre and volunteer firefighter Jason Levy. So administration wishes to acknowledge the exceptional men and women that proudly serve the City of Brooks and area as volunteer firefighters. So I would like to recommend that council accept the City of Brooks Fire and Rescue Services Year-End Administration Report as information. and I am more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I have one. I want to talk about ambulance service because we often hear in other communities, especially the rural communities, where they're impacted by ambulances. Let's say they're taken out of Strathmore, used in Calgary, or they're taken out of Crow's Nest Pass and used in Lethbridge, and then that community is left without ambulance. Are we running into any issues like that here?
Well, within the city of Brooks, I could only speak for myself, time-wise has been very good. We haven't ran into any issues really as length of time, other than what we normally have seen way before the pandemic. And also, I have to tell you that within the fire department, the volunteer fire department, we do have quite a few people that are qualified to look after situations, because we do have 3 paramedics within the department, and we have approximately 4, they're like EMTs, and we have many people that are EMRs and 1 nurse. And she is actually doing her practicum right now to become a full-time nurse, so very proud of her. So we do sometimes get on scene between Kevin Stewart and myself. We get there first before EMS get on scene, but between the 3 of us, we do have enough training that we can provide till they get there.
Yeah, so we're not really running into any issues here, though, which is good. There was a report that came out from the provincial government about changing a lot of things and that, and I know you don't want to get political on that, but I looked at it, but it seemed like they were finally offering some solutions to the problems, though, around the province on that.
Right, they want to do some changes, but like I said, we have not seen any bad things with EMS for us. They've been really good with us. We work together really well, and a lot of the volunteer firefighters that are on active are part of that EMS team also.
Yeah, and I don't think we can thank our volunteer firefighters enough, whatever, for what they do to the community and save the community financially too. And thank you for your time there too. Any other questions? Okay, to the motion that council accept the fire department year-end report for 2021, report as information. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you, Barry. There were a couple people that popped in here. Can you please sign your name on the list there? Looking at the time here, are we good for the time? 2 minutes? Yeah. Let's see, yeah. Yeah, and then yeah. I have to wait 90 seconds here now for the, yeah. And I'm not going to tell any jokes. Just for the record, this will be my first public hearing here. So I got Alan and Amanda to protect me here and make sure that I do all the procedures right. You're on your own. Okay. Yeah. I could have had Barry talking for a few more minutes. So what about those Flames? And I'm picking Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. Okay, it's 5 o'clock. I'd like to call this public hearing to order. First of all, we'll get an explanation of the proposed bylaw, and I think we have on the line, I know your first name's Gavin, but Gavin, if you can give your full name and who you represent, since you're on our video up there, so go ahead there, Gavin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Gavin Scott. I work for the Old Man River Regional Services Commission, and you probably are more familiar with Madeline. Of course, I am not her. I am filling in during her mat leave. And as such, I provide all the planning services that you have enjoyed over the many years. This is my third or fourth stint with the City of Brooks in providing coverage and service to your community. And I hope during this next year that we can all get along and have a productive time and a fun time doing planning, even though it's not the funnest subject matter. We have for you this evening bylaw 2203 is a proposed amendment to the land use bylaw to update the sign regulations and make other minor changes to the land use bylaw to improve the functionality of the regulations. The proposed changes were presented to Council Committee on December 14th, 2021, and received support to move forward to regular council meeting and first reading. Bylaw 2203 received first reading by Council on January 17th of 2022. This public hearing was advertised over 2 weeks online and in the paper. And during that review period, we've received no written comments or submittals from the public in favor or in opposition to the proposed bylaw. The bylaw was also circulated to the county in Newell, who had no concerns regarding its content. And we also circulated to Alberta Transportation, who did provide a response letter with 2 suggested changes that I provided in my Schedule B. These will need to be treated as an amendment to your proceedings today for second reading. As an overview, I'll just list the general things from your agenda this evening. You have this amendment taking, I guess, the topics to be discussed being the sign types in the land use bylaw, the electronic display regulations, the offsite premise advertising regulations, changes to specific types of sign regulations, and then a few cleanup portions of the bylaw. Mr. Mayor, I'll stop there and turn things back to you. If you have questions regarding any of the comments by the public or council, I'm here to answer those questions.
Any questions? Okay. Okay. Yeah, is there any person speaking in favor of the proposed bylaw? Oh, okay, if you want to come to the front there and state your name.
Good evening. My name is Ben van Dijk, and we operate a real estate center, Bass Holdings, in the city of Brooks. Just take my notes. Good evening, council members, mayor. Thank you for allowing us the opportunities to speak tonight regarding the potential changes to the sign bylaws. In advertising, messages are conveyed to promote business, events, products, cities, business communities, and just general promotion. How the message is conveyed can be done in many different ways. Traditional, it was newspapers, flyers, mail-outs, portable signs, in some cases, the town crier. So today's news and advertising promotion has evolved in many different avenues to communicate with citizens, clients, and customers. First, the radio made big changes, then the TV, and now the internet and visual advertising has become the medium of choice to communicate, announce, and promote. It does not mean that all previous ways do not work or are outdated. It just means more choice and effective delivery of the message. Just to use an example from the past, they were visiting doctors, dentists, barbers. Now they're mostly established businesses in town, and clients rely on their services. Incomparable with original advertising and portable signs, the off-site advertising rules proposed will have a very positive effect on the community, business, and communication. The LED signs are much more instant, clear message with higher impact in communication and business promotion. Events can be advertised instantly to large numbers with clear messaging for the City of Brooks with highway exposure that can bring visitors and business to the City of Brooks. It might spark much more investment in the City of Brooks and the County of Newell with new businesses and investments from outside or from people in the community. Innovation should be a pillar in the community for strengthening and expanding job opportunities, business growth, and sustainable growth overall. The City of Brooks and the County of Newell have been innovators and encouraged growth with innovative solutions that businesses embraces. Being the center of the first solar farm in Alberta and projects in solar that are planning stages, making Brooks the solar capital of the world. Many other projects are on the way, including fiber optics, the Brooks Community Pathway Development Community Enhancement Project, and makes the City of Brooks and the County of Newell the envy of the world for being a great place to live, work, and to do business. Therefore, new solutions and innovations should be encouraged and not held back. Thank you.
Now, did you have a specific question, or, I mean,
No,
I appreciate the nice compliments on the community in the area there, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So, anybody else speaking in favor of the proposed bylaw? Okay. Any person speaking in opposition of the proposed bylaw? I see no one, so some final comments. Okay, from Gavin Scott, if you want to give the final comments, then Gavin.
So given all that, recommendation this evening is that we move forward with second and third reading. And I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting and we'll get to the land, or do you have anything to say? No, you're good. Okay, we're good. So I'll adjourn the meeting and then we'll get to the, and then we'll go to the land use bylaws at the end of the meeting here. So I'll adjourn the meeting there. Thank you. Okay. There. Thanks for the help there from the guys that were pulling my strings here. So. Oh, okay. Moved by Councillor Prentice that policy L001 and 003A entitled Boards, Committees, Commissions, Commemorations be hereby approved. And I believe Amanda's talking on this one here.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council, administration has undertaken a review of, or is continuing to undertake a review of all city policies to ensure they reflect current practice. And attached for your perusal is the draft boards, committees, and commissions and commemorations policy. The policy was presented at the January 25th council committee meeting and has been updated with the following. The policy statement now specifies that members at large being recognized must have represented the city, as some boards, committees, and commissions have members appointed from other municipalities. It also notes that members at large will be recognized at a council meeting and have their names in the city's ad in the newspaper, and members at large will be recognized in or around December of each year. Therefore, administration is recommending that policy 001-003A be adopted.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Wardrop that policy L001-021B entitled Letters of Support be hereby approved. And I believe that's Amanda again.
Through the chair to mayor and council, once again, administration is undertaking a review of city policies to ensure that they reflect that current practice. This policy was presented at the January 25th council committee meeting as well and has been updated with the following. Providing a policy statement and purpose of the policy, which are to support local organizations by providing letters of support and provide guidelines for staff to do so. removing the part that requires the letters of support to include a proviso that letters cannot be used to solicit funds from businesses and residents, as that information is not currently included in the letters of support that we provide. And finally, removing the requirements that request be in writing. Therefore, administration is recommending that policy 001-021B be adopted.
Okay, any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Council Nesbitt that Melchris Aurelio be appointed to the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board for a first two-year term commencing February 8th, 2022 and ending February 7th, 2024. That Kathy Corbett-Chalk be reappointed to the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board for a third two-year term commencing February 5th, 2022 and ending February 4th, 2024. And that Tyler Wardrop be reappointed to the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board for a second two-year term commencing February 20th, 2022, and ending February 19th, 2024. And Natasha, this is yours here.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council. The Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board's mandate is to assist both council and the city in providing opportunities for arts, culture, and heritage programs, events, and facilities in the city of Brooks. The board consists of 6 citizens at large and 1 city councillor. There's currently 1 vacant citizen at large position and 2 citizen at large positions up for reappointment. The vacant position was advertised and 2 applicants were received and reviewed by the board at the January 20th, 2022 meeting. In February 2018, Kathy Corbett-Chalk was initially appointed to the board for a 2-year term ending on February 4th, 2022, and Tyler Wardrop was initially appointed to the board in February of 2020 for a 2-year term ending on February 19th, 2022. Therefore, the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board would like to forward to City Council the following motions for citizen at large. Motion made January 20th, 2022. Marian Neeser Carrazzo made a motion to appoint Melchris Aurelio to be a citizen at large representative on the City of Brooks Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board. And Tyler Wardrop seconded the motion, and the motion was carried. Tyler Wardrop made a motion to appoint Kathy Corbett-Chalk for a 3rd term as a citizen at large representative on the City of Brooks Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board. Marian Neeser Carrazzo seconded the motion, and the motion was carried. Kathy Corbett-Chalk made a motion to appoint Tyler Wardrop for a 2nd term as a citizen at large representative on the City of Brooks Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board. And Joel Goodenough seconded the motion, and the motion was carried. Therefore, the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board recommends that Melchris Aurelio be appointed to the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board for a first 2-year term, commencing February 8th, 2022, and ending February 7th, 2024. That Kathy Corbett-Chalk be reappointed to the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board for a 3rd 2-year term, commencing February 5th, 2022, and ending February 4th, 2024. And further, that Tyler Wardrop be reappointed to the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Board for a 2nd 2-year term, commencing February 20th, 2022, and ending February 19th, 2024.
Thank you very much. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Wardrop that council approved the JBS Canada Centre 2022 Family Day event. Natasha, this is yours again.
I'm back again. All right. So each year the City of Brooks provides a fun, family-friendly event at the JBS Canada Centre to celebrate Family Day. This event is free for all residents of the Brooks region due to a $1,500 donation that is provided by the Knights of Columbus. Thank you, Knights of Columbus. This event brings families together to celebrate a day that emphasizes the importance of quality family time spent together, especially in today's busy world. In past years, the JBS Canada Centre has hosted a range of family activities, including drop-in sport programming in the Fieldhouse and the Sparrow Arena, open use of the Play Centre, and activities facilitated by partners in the Synovus Flex Hall. Last year, both the JBS Canada Centre and the Centennial Regional Arena were closed due to provincial restrictions surrounding COVID-19. This year, we plan to again host drop-in family activities in the Sparrow Arena, open use of the EID Aquatic Centre, as well as host drop-in activities in the Fieldhouse like basketball, volleyball, and soccer. Our Play Centre will be open, and we have more partnered activities with the Brooks and District Museum and the Synovus Flex Hall. Access to the fitness center is not included in the free activities. Gatherings, activities, masking, and social distancing restrictions are still in place as per the current public health orders, and currently the city's recreation facilities are operating under 1/3 capacity guidelines, which include physical distancing and masking. Staff are looking forward to hosting this Family Day event again in 2022 after having it canceled in 2021. Therefore, staff recommends that council approve the JBS Canada Centre 2022 Family Day event.
Okay, any questions? Just a comment, though, like I know in the past, this has been well attended and a big event for the community there. So it's nice to see it back in some capacity, and who knows what the restrictions will be in the next 2 weeks. But I know you got a plan in place if they don't change whatever. So we're looking, I think everybody's kind of looking forward to this here too. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you, Natasha. Okay, moved by Councillor Goodenough that council award the solid waste collection from multifamily buildings and city-owned facilities contract to Smith Brook Mud Services for a 5-year term beginning April 1st, 2022 and ending March 31st, 2027 in the amount of $653,241,000.12 excluding GST. And Don, you'll talk about this here.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council. The city currently has a contract with a private hauler to collect garbage from multifamily buildings and city-owned facilities. The contract ended in January 2022. Staff released a request for proposal on Alberta Purchasing Connection in October 2021. The RFP closed on November 15th, 2021. Following receipt of submitted proposals, the city determined there was a lack of clarity in the RFP documents and the evaluation process. Currently, the city decided to cancel the RFP and not award a contract. A new request for tender was posted on Alberta Purchasing Connection. The tender was for a 5-year contract with an option to extend for an additional 5 years. The contract term would begin April 1, 2022 and end March 31, 2027. The price can fluctuate over the term depending on the number of bins added or removed. The tender is based on the current volume of bins and service required. The city received 3 proposals. The total cost excluding GST over 5 years from each respondent are as follows. Waste Connections of Canada for $692,952. E360 Solutions Limited for $752,877. And Smith Brook Mud Services for $653,241. Staff evaluated the proposals based on the criteria of price, previous experience, equipment, and safety record. All proposals scored very well on all criteria, which left price as the deciding factor. Therefore, Smith Brook Mud Services is the more favorable proposal due to the lower price. Therefore, the recommendation is that staff award the council award the solid waste collection from multifamily buildings and city-owned facilities contract to Smith Brook Mud Services for a 5-year term beginning April 1, 2022 and ending March 31, 2027 in the amount of $653,241.12 excluding GST.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Goodenough.
There we go. Thanks for your report here. I'm curious just about multifamily buildings. How many approximately would you say there are now, and city-owned facilities like that they're picking up? And is it once a week, twice a week? What's the numbers on that?
Councillor Goodenough, I couldn't give you those exact numbers right now, but I could get them to you.
Okay. And then just a follow-up thought then would be, are we expecting in the term of this contract of 5 years, because it will fluctuate based on the amount that people do, do we expect it to escalate if there's a massive growth in the city, and would there ever be a cap, or should there be a cap considered?
Well, the tenders were based on the volume of tanks that they tip and the number of times they tip them. So it's all relative, whether it grows by 20 more buildings, it's just 20 more buildings to haul garbage from.
Okay.
So the original buildings that it's based on right now, that would stay the same.
Did you want to add to that? Oh, okay, yeah, you answered. Okay, any other questions then? Okay, Councilor Jessica.
Thanks, Don. I guess I'm assuming that there was a contract in place before for the same service. If so, so right now we're looking about just over 130,000 a year. How would that compare to what it was in the past?
I believe this has gone up by 3% of what it was last year. And this is, it was contracted for 6 years prior to this.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Don. Okay, moved by Councilor Idris at the COVID-19 updates. And are we doing that one first? Or, yeah, we are, yeah. The COVID-19 updates and initiatives be accepted as information. Your show again, Amanda.
Thank you so much. Through the chair to Mayor Petrie and Council. The following is information and updates as relates to COVID-19. So today, the dashboard was updated from data from yesterday, which was February the 6th. And those numbers are as follows. The City of Brooks currently has 105 active cases, and unfortunately, the number of deaths have increased to 29 within our community. And we continue to send our deepest condolences to those friends and family who have lost their loved one. As of February 6th, there were 1,542 people that are in hospital, with 118 individuals in ICU. 89.9% of the 12 and up population in the province have received at least their first dose, with 86.2% of the population receiving 2 doses. I do have some numbers for the County of Newell, which includes Brooks and special areas too. The percentage of the population within our region who have 1 dose for all ages is 70.6%, or approximately 19,573 people. The percentage of population within our region who have 2 doses for all ages is 65.8%, or 18,235 individuals. And individuals within our region who have received their 3 doses for all ages is 22.5%, or 6,247 individuals. The measures that took effect on December 24th continue to be in place. On January 6th, Alberta Health Services launched that comprehensive website resource to help Albertans manage mild COVID-19 symptoms at home. So you can still visit that website. On January 10th, the province changed the eligibility for PCR tests to focus on those who need them the most due to the rising demand of PCR tests. So those PCR tests continue to be given to those who are eligible, who have those clinical high risk factors, including pregnant women and children under 2 for severe outcomes, and for those who live and work in high risk settings. On December 24th, just a friendly reminder that Alberta did open the COVID-19 vaccination booster, so the 3rd dose to all Albertans aged 18 and older. And then we also have all Albertans aged 18 and older at 5 months or more from their 2nd dose can book their appointments for 3rd doses online with participating pharmacies or Alberta Health Services using the vaccination booking system, or by calling Alberta Health Services at 811. In line with recommendations from the National Advisory Committee on Immunization and the Alberta Advisory Committee on Immunization, individuals aged 18 and older who have specific immunocompromising conditions can receive a 4th dose 5 months after receiving their 3rd. Beginning January 20th, eligible individuals could start booking appointments for 4th doses online with Alberta Health Services, again with participating pharmacies, going to the Alberta Vaccine Booking System, or by calling 811. Youth ages 12 to 17 with qualifying immunocompromising conditions continue to be eligible for 3rd doses. However, 4th doses have not yet been approved for this age bracket. Children aged 5 to 11 who received their first COVID-19 dose 8 weeks ago are eligible for a 2nd dose. They can book those appointments again through those particular venues. We also have children, as of January 18th, 42% of children aged 5 to 11 have received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccination. Again, it is strongly urged that all parents and guardians book their children in for their first dose as soon as possible. Third doses, however, have not been approved for youth under the age of 18 unless they have, again, those eligible immunocompromising conditions. And third doses in Canada are currently recommended for children 5 to 11. Evidence does continue to be reviewed nationally and provincially. Once again, eligible Albertans can book appointments online for their shots. Again, they can do this through the pharmacy, use that one booking system, and by calling 811. On January 25th, 2022, a new at-home COVID-19 treatment information was given that it is on its way to Alberta. That was announced on that day. Albertans with mild to moderate COVID-19 symptoms who are at high risk of developing serious disease will soon have a second option for early treatment. The first shipments of, I'm going to hash these words, so I'm really sorry, Paxlovid became available to Albertans starting January 31st. Initial supply was limited, so eligibility is limited to those individuals who will benefit the most. This medication can cause side effects, so it will be available only by prescription after an assessment by a clinician and is not a substitute for the vaccination. Paxlovid is the first COVID-19 treatment approved by Health Canada that can be taken orally at home, and the second COVID-19 early treatment option available in Alberta after, I'm not even going to be able to pronounce that word, was made available last year. Treatment with the medication must be started within 5 days of onset of symptoms and is intended to be used by individuals who have those immunosuppressive conditions, are unvaccinated and over the age of 65, or are unvaccinated and over the age of 18 with pre-existing medical conditions that put them at a higher risk of severe illness or death. At-home rapid test kits continue to be available for at-home personal use. However, supply is limited. On December 31st, the Alberta Health Minister announced that Albertans who have been vaccinated with 2 doses will only have to isolate for 5 days instead of the usual 10 days if they test positive for COVID-19, and that started on January the 3rd. And there was another announcement that was made that the end for vaccine passports is in sight. Premier Jason Kenney announced that he hopes the restrictions exemption program and other public health measures can be lifted by the end of March. The Premier granted, or did not guarantee, but he did guarantee that the removal of restrictions will be based on data, that the province will not remove measures that will result in higher transmission and hospitalization rates. Again, kindergarten to grade 12 students continue to learn in person, while post-secondary institutions are to remain online through the end of this month. Again, the province is no longer reporting COVID-19 outbreaks outside of high-risk settings, and they are no longer notifying school divisions of active COVID-19 cases as well. City facilities continue to operate with provincial restrictions and guidelines in place, such as masking and social distancing, which continues to be required while in the recreation facilities, unless engaged in a physical activity. If you need any further clarification related to COVID-19, you can always visit alberta.ca, the city's website page, or our website. And this concludes my COVID-19 report, and if you have any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them.
Any questions? I think what we're seeing across the province there, I didn't see the numbers today, but I think the one number we have to really look at is the ICUs, and I think they've been either going down or have been stabilizing anyway, and I think that's sort of the key to Premier Kenney and his decisions to maybe make some changes. I just want to point out, if the changes, whatever the provincial government does, it affects us here, and especially with our recreational facilities there too. And once we find out what we can do, whatever, we'll get the message out to the public as soon as we can there. Okay, any other questions? Okay, to the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Moved by Councillor Nesbitt that a letter be sent to the Premier and the Minister of Justice and Solicitor General requesting that municipalities be provided with required information, that municipalities be given time to do a thorough review of this information to determine its impacts, and that this be followed by a meaningful engagement prior to provincial decision being made on an Alberta Provincial Police Service. And I'll start off here with Alan on this one here.
Thank you, through the chair to mayor and council. Further to the engagement session in Brooks on January 27th, there are several questions that need to be answered prior to providing informed feedback and evaluating the proposition of an Alberta Police Service. One question is how the province anticipates funding the additional costs of this provincial police service. They talk about two potential models, and depending on the model chosen, it will cost an additional $180 to $205 million annually. And this does not include the estimated $366 million transition costs over a 6-year period. The province is always looking to decrease spending, and to spend more on policing will mean a reduction somewhere else. It is expected that municipalities such as Brooks, with municipal police service agreements with the RCMP, will pay at the same levels that they are now, which brings up the next question of whether service levels will remain the same. That information is not available at this time, and that does need to be answered, especially if our costs are not going to decrease. The proposed model anticipates local police commissions and provincial police commissions. These commissions are to be representative of the populations they serve. It is not known exactly how these local police commissions will be appointed. It's important that these are appointed locally so that they indeed are representative of the community and the members are aware of local issues. It would also be good to know the structure that will be used to feed local issues into the provincial priorities that the Provincial Police Commission will set. The model allows for integration with other key services such as mental health services, victim services, family and community services, and community organizations. It appeared from the presentation that it's sometimes difficult to do this given the current arrangements. However, we've been successful in these aspects within our community with initially DIVIT and now the Community Policing Unit as examples. It may be that other detachments do not work as well with other communities. The province should have these integration discussions with the federal government, as it may provide another model to evaluate. And the recommendation is as per the motion read by Your Honor, Mayor Petrie, and of course, this decision merits discussion. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Goodenough, if you want to add to that, you were at both of those meetings there.
Sure. Thank you to the Mayor and Council, or to us here. This is my report, and it contains information on the 3 meetings that I attended: the National Police Federation, the Alberta Municipalities in January 19th, and the Alberta Provincial Service Transition Study in January 27th. I'd like to state that after attending the 3 meetings, there are pros and cons to Alberta policing and the RCMP. There is a lot more research to be done for the Alberta government. It is clear that the Fair Deal panel report that the 25 recommendations made policing being number 14 on their list, that it's not a order, or sorry, that the order is not a priority list, but it's what we can accomplish. This report that I will give is, this report I will not be giving my opinion on what is the best direction for the city to take, since all the information that has not been collected by the provincial government and given to us, as therefore we recommend this letter to go forward. The Alberta Provincial Service Transition Summary. The Alberta Provincial Police Service Transition Study presented an innovative provincial policing model that would increase the number of frontline police officers and civilian specialists serving our communities, having dedicated mental health nurses and social workers to assist frontline response, prioritize community policing that would see Albertans recruited and serving their local communities, and a lot less transfer of officers in and out of the communities. reducing federal and provincial jurisdiction barriers that would limit the integration of police services across Alberta, and having a governance model that to increase the provincial police accountability to local priorities and policing needs. A little bit more to say here. The FDP Fair Panel Deal on page 34 recommendation that Alberta create in 2006, Alberta create the Alberta Sheriff to help with traffic enforcement and surveillance, which we continue to see in our communities across Alberta. And with this, however, it's been detrimental, or it's been, important to our small towns. Sheriffs have become the backbone of law enforcement. When RCMP have not been available. It's also worth noting that Premier Ed Stelmach at the time renewed the Alberta contract with the RCMP for 20 years from April 1st, 2012 to March 31st, 2032. This contract contains a termination clause which allows the agreement to be terminated on March 31st of any year, by either party, given the party at least 24 months notice. In other words, Alberta could, when this report is issued, terminate its agreement with the RCMP effective March 31st, 2022. The contract could also be terminated even earlier if the federal government concurs. So that was those two meetings. I did do an online Zoom meeting with the Alberta municipalities. As said, hosted a virtual policing summit on January 19th to help prepare members for the JSG engagement session. During the Alberta Municipalities Virtual Summit, they provided an overview of the PricewaterhouseCoopers feasibility study and proposed the APPS service delivery model. They shared and analyzed the PwC study to our Alberta municipalities and policing principles. They gathered information from all of us and are forming questions and concerns that arise from the study. A concern that was stated by Alberta municipalities over and over was the lack of transparency in the whole process, followed by the lack of answers to their questions. But when I had sent out my own questions to Alberta municipalities, they seemed to not want to follow up with myself. I've wondered if this is a case of the pot calling the kettle black. The RCMP National Police Federation, the RCMP Union, the federal government pays 30% of Alberta's RCMP policing costs. That's $185 million annually. If Alberta were to replace the RCMP, Alberta taxpayers and local communities would be on the hook for the full cost of provincial policing, plus transition costs that are currently estimated at $366 million. Based on actual costs in other jurisdictions, this could double, triple, or worse. I'd also like to note that this is the same union that negotiated the new RCMP contract with RetroPay, and we'll be seeing added expenses to the City of Brooks for years to come, which means a property tax increase for citizens. In conclusion to my report, these three presentations showed their point of views and would only answer questions that they felt that pushed their agenda. It was hard to come to any conclusion, but to continue to work. But my conclusion is that we need to continue to support our local RCMP and to state and its members that continue to do a great job for the City of Brooks. I'd also like to note that there is always going to be fear in the unknown, and I'm apprehensive of the work, I'm appreciative of the work of the Alberta government is doing to inform and receive feedback from the different levels of government and the invested groups. It is important to restate that no decision has been made with regards to Alberta establishing its own provincial police. This is simply a follow-up to the Fair Deal panel. I'd like to finalize this with a quote because it is Black History Month by Martin Luther King Jr. People fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other, and they don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. Martin Luther King Jr. I'd like to encourage the Alberta government to continue to bring stakeholders to the table, and that will be my report.
Okay, any questions Councillor Jessica.
Yeah. Is it okay if I comment? I was also.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I attended the two local meetings as well. And you know, they both had their agendas, but the information they both presented was essentially identical so far as the major costs. The presentation on behalf of the supporters of the status quo did raise a number of concerns regarding the transition process and costs that really haven't been addressed in anything that was presented by the second workshop through the province. And just the second workshop was for elected officials and was well attended. And at the end of the meeting, nobody was very satisfied with the information they were given. And I suspect there's going to be a whole bunch of letters very similar to this one going out.
Councillor Wardrop?
Thanks. Yeah, I attended the meeting for the elected officials. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to the first one. There's just a couple things that I'd like to stress. So the first thing is this loss of $188 million in federal funding. And as it was kind of alluded to in Alan and Joel's reports here, I actually asked a direct question about how this $188 million in federal, or in just a funding gap will be addressed. And the answer that I got was word for word, the numbers will balance because the premier said so. No word of lie. I wrote it down. I have it. I brought it out just to make sure that I wasn't mistaken. But that's the level of information that we were given. So, you know, and that really begs the question, why? Why was this was a real concern for myself and other elected officials, not just in the room, but across the province. Bringing in a provincial police force was not in the UCP's election platform. It was not in their mandate. And this is not something that Albertans or municipalities have been asking for. And in fact, overall, we're quite satisfied with the RCMP and the services that they provide. So, and we weren't able to really get a clear answer in response to that question. And not just in that room, but I've been keeping up, and I haven't seen a justification for even this whole endeavor. But that $188 million it has to come from somewhere. It's going to come from us and from Albertan taxpayers. This is already after we are spending a lot of money with that, with the back pay for the RCMP, plus our MSI is now reduced to 40.6% of what it is currently, plus just general inflation. It could be disastrous for our municipality specifically, and then just there's, those are legitimate concerns, and then to be given the answer because the premier just said so, that the numbers are going to balance and this is what it's going to be. I just really encourage us to keep the pressure on and to keep pressing for these answers to these questions. I'd like to just say too, one more time, how much I really respect the RCMP and how beneficial they've been to our community, how willing they are to work with us. And when we went to the Alberta municipalities convention, how much specifically the RCMP, even our area was praised for their initiatives and their innovation in community policing. And one more thing I'd like to say is that innovation is great. I'm all for innovation. And of course, there are improvements that could be made to the RCMP. There always are improvements. But this specific proposal does not seem prudent or wise or beneficial to Albertans at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Okay, Councillor Idris.
Thank you. I too have attended the 3 sessions, and I think the councillors have spoken about many of the pros and cons of the matter itself. I want to just touch base on the idea of engagement. And what I mean by engagement is the provincial government's engagement with municipalities. Does our opinion really matter or not? And from what I have seen till now, it doesn't look like it do, or it does matter. The session that the province have done wasn't an engagement session, was an information session that this is what we are going to do if we are going to go ahead with it. If there isn't really a decision, that this is what we are going to do or not, but basically that is what they did. And I think we as municipalities should go back to that idea that we do matter in you know, it's a political system and understand the jurisdictions, but unless we look at each other as partners, we are not going to be able to achieve anything. And that didn't happen at that session. And for many different reasons, one of the questions I asked at the session is that you are invited elected officials. It wasn't for community, it wasn't for anybody else. You are invited elected officials, and you start by session. You start by session by a disclaimer that we cannot answer any political questions or any value judgment. There wasn't any value question on, and it was very clear. They said, we are not going to answer any question that has to do with value. Why are we doing this? Or that has any political, and I respect public servants, and that's not their role, but the engagement and how it was announced and how it was communicated, having the minister's name, whoever the minister is, looked like it is a political engagement with political actors. So that didn't happen. So in our letter, I would really like to also, if we add something about that, are we really partners and are we really in this together, or are we just a receiver of information in a decision that the province is going to do one way or the other?
Okay, any other comments? Yeah, just I think our feelings are much the same as the engagement part there. I agree with you. Are we just receivers of the information? I just kind of want to just point out a few things too. And I often talk about rural Alberta there. You have to realize that for this issue here, for 2.8 million Albertans, it's not an issue because Calgary has their own police force, Lethbridge does, Medicine Hat does, Edmonton does. So I don't know if they're reacting enough to, you know, the rural component, you know, where most of the RCMP are on that. The other thing too, and I know my learned friend over there has brought up this point here too, about, you know, we talk about Alberta instigating this, but this was also brought up at the federal level, and it was, I can't remember if it was June of this past year or June of the year before, where the federal government had talked about getting rid of the RCMP out of the rural component. And so we have to, well, you know, we put a certain amount of pressure on the provincial government. There is also the federal one, where I also see it as maybe this is a way they can download some of the expenses to the provinces. And, you know, for them too, you know, there's not a lot of RCMP in either Quebec or Ontario, as they have the OPP and the QPP, you know, so this becomes more of a Western Canada, maybe, and I don't know what it's like in Atlantic Canada too, but the bottom line is, we don't have the answers, and we want the answers. And the big answer is the funding. I think the big question is $188 million, and I think that's only for 1 year. We don't know what it's going to be the year after that and the year after that too. And as Councillor Goodenough said, it basically comes back to our local taxpayer, and we're going to have to pick up the tab on that or make drastic changes to, you know, how we provide service to the community in the way of public safety on that. So, any other questions? Okay, we got the motion where we're going to send the letter. All those in favor? Okay, approved. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, this is, okay, we go to the bylaw now. This is bylaw 2203, moved by Councillor Prentice, that bylaw 2203 be given second reading. Oh, yeah, and then, yeah, okay, yeah. So there's an amendment on this one here. Okay, so the amendment, okay. My Councillor Wardrop, that bylaw 2203 be amended by adding section 98.18, which reads, all electronic signs adjacent to a designated Alberta highway shall, during the application process, be circulated to Alberta Transportation for comment and may be subject to an Alberta Transportation roadside development permit to Schedule A, and by adding where applicable to the start of 103.3, 7C on Schedule A. Okay, any questions on that amendment? Okay, voting on the amendment, right? Do we vote? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. So now we need a second reading on the amendment?
Second reading as amended.
Okay, now we vote on second reading as, okay, yeah. Second reading on, as amended. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Okay. Now, moved by Councillor Prentice that bylaw number 2203 being a bylaw of the City of Brooks in the province of Alberta be to amend bylaw 1412 being the land use bylaw be read a third time and adopted. Any questions on this? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay, I think, questions from the media. Sandra?
Thank you. Where should I begin? No, I'm serious. Just have
Just
one.
remember, you have a meeting to go to at 6 o'clock too, eh? So-
Oh, no, I've already told them I'll be late. Do you think that a letter to the province is actually good enough, something that the province will sit up and take notice of when asking them to provide more information about policing? Or do you think that perhaps there should be something stronger that could be done?
I can leave this open to anybody there. I think that's their first step. I think we have to give them a fair chance to give us some answers. And I think if they don't give us answers, I think then we have to take tougher action, and I don't know what that tougher action would be.
I think the reason I'm asking is AUMA, as Councillor Wardrop said, has been hosting policing meetings for a while, as well as the RMA. These same questions were asked at that time as well. Now, I know the PricewaterhouseCoopers document was not out, but it's the same questions. So I'm not really sure. I'm just wondering if a letter, do you think you'll get an answer back? And if you get that answer back, do you think it will be quickly?
No. But I think in fairness to them and to do our due diligence and the proper protocol, let's send the letter, and, let's hope for the best. And then we'll, if we don't get an answer, and I don't know what the deadline, maybe Ellen can help me on that, or maybe somebody else that's been around council for a while can answer, like how long do we wait? I don't know. Like, do we wait, a month, 2 months, 6 weeks, 2 years, whatever? I would like an answer, within a couple months, whatever, because we can't be, we can't continue to go on like this.
Certainly, and that's fair. And I think the reason I'm asking is, I know it sounds weird, but budgeting isn't that far away for next year. No. And if policing is coming up, would there be a chance that the city would have to cut services to pay for some of the costs for an increase in police costs? Maybe not this year, maybe in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it might be 3 or 4 years down the road. And the other thing, the other sort of intangible thing that's coming up here too is we have a provincial election in less than 18 months away there too. Now, I don't know, unless somebody has insight, do you think, I think Councillor Goodenough said that to get out of that, is it 24 months or 12 months? 24 months. So, yeah, but yeah, so if the existing government is in there and they still continue to do that, yeah, you're right. It's 2 to 3 months down the road on that there too. Yeah, so
that's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Alan. Alan has some smarter answers than me.
Well, I don't think I have smarter answers because I don't recall exactly, but in the final report, they did have a timeline in there, and it's not that far down the road. I wish I would remember. It looks like they want to move fairly quickly on this, so we are going to have to pressure them pretty fast.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Sandra. You can get to your other meeting now there too. Oh, Councilor Jessica.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment. So it was alluded to that 1.88 million, so that's 30%. And at the one presentation, it was stated that that used to be 42% rebate. So there has been a reduction in the amount we've been getting. I don't know if there's any way we can go to the federal government and ask them for any kind of assurances on what their long-term plans are for how that, whether it'll remain at 30% or whether they have any, I doubt if they'll increase it, but if
Yeah.
it's gonna go down, that's a wild card in this whole situation.
And maybe when we get that answer, we'll get an answer on the retro pay too. Just want to point out that. Okay. Okay. I think we got a motion to, okay. Right, okay. Moved by Counselor Goodenough that council close the meeting to the public for agenda item 11A, legal as per section 24 of FOIP, and 11B, personnel as per section 17 FOIP at 5:56 PM. Okay, all those in favor? Carried.